change the world through travel.
People are good. I believe in the general goodness of people.
To play and have fun and enjoy life and help other people do the same, right?
We're only on this planet for a short time. I don't know where we came from. I don't know where we're going after this, but my whole why in life is just to kind of be a witness to this place that I've been dropped upon, to see it, to appreciate it.
To figure out who you want to be in the world.
We're actually focusing on focus, the importance of being able to do that. And when we were talking about this topic, the first name that came to mind was Phyllis Smith, my friend here, our guest. Phyllis is a teacher of yoga. She is also a tranquility coach. I love this bit that I saw on Phyllis's page. She is hoping to help create a kinder, gentler, more peace-loving future. And that's a lot what we're about here in our mission too. So Phyllis, if you could tell us.
Greatly needed, by the way, greatly needed in this world.
Gosh, yes. Gosh, yes. Well, tell us about your background and like, how did you come to be a yoga teacher?
Well, I got my yoga teacher certification back in 2006. So I've had it for a while, but it wasn't really my full-time thing. I had a real job, and my career really focused around broadcast television, news, radio. And so I that was like 3.5 decades of doing that. And you can imagine the kind of what happens in that kind of situation. It's very stressful, especially I was really focusing on news and I was a producer on the Today Show. And then that's how I met my husband. He was my cameraman on a shoot. I ended up in Texas. I had lived in New York. And while I was here, I worked in television for a while, and then I ended up at CBS Radio, where they had six or seven different stations here. CBS Radio is now owned by another company, but so I did 11 and a half years there, and being a producer and doing and then eventually having my own radio show, and then I became a movie critic, and then I became a news reporter for KRLD. So I did that thing all along. Yoga was my passion. It was my sanctuary, right? I want to do something that's going to make a difference in people's lives, and so I thought, what do I love? Right? I love yoga, and I want to help people. I want to impact them in a positive way. And so Rejuvicides was born, and everything I teach, everything I do working with others and clients is all about, how can I help you find that sense of inner peace, right?
Certainly. That's one of the things that we're dealing with right now in the world. It feels like things are falling apart, and how do we keep ourselves together? So I'm wondering if you have somebody that you can think of just off the top of your head that like this really transformed them. It made such a difference to this one individual or maybe a group. Can you tell us a story about somebody like that?
Sure. One in particular is one of my clients. He's in his late 70s. He's about to have surgery, and he is very anxious about it. And I sat with him and I said, what really makes you anxious? And he says, well, I've got this heart thing and I don't know if I'm going to wake up from it. And he's like catastrophic thinking, he could die on the table. Like that's where he's going with it. And so we did, and then this is, I've already done this. I've also created a meditation for him, but we did this body scan to help him relax, head to toe, his whole body. And then when we got to his knee, I was inviting him to do a visualization of imagining that you're on the table and everything is just going great. You wake up and the doc says, everything went as planned. It's beautiful. Yes, you might have a little pain, but you imagine yourself walking in a few months and walking with ease. And so we went through the whole thing, and he felt so much better and so much calmer. And, when you get into your late 70s, this is not necessarily something that you used to doing, right? You have your life. He's an engineer. What that means, what that might, evoke in your mind about an engineer, they're kind of, this happened 1 and 1 + 1 = 2, and this, but he has just become so open to it. And interesting is when I first walked in, the first thing he said to me, I asked, what is it that you want to work on today? And he says, I need to calm my mind. I need to relax. And that, I don't think that would be something he would expect to ask somebody for. So that's the kind of transformation when you can, when you can learn some of these tools to help you relax, when you can focus and bring your attention to one thing. We're not thinking about the past. We're not thinking about the future. And by the way, there's no such thing as multitasking. So get rid of that idea. And when you focus, it just helps to calm your mind. Sorry, you can't. No, don't tell me you're multitasking. There's no such thing. Your brain doesn't work that way. And so, focusing does help create tranquility. It does help to create inner peace. It helps to clear our minds so that we're not thinking about 1,000 things. I have a monkey mind like you wouldn't believe. So I have to work on it all the time. And there's the simplest thing is the thing we have, 24/7 is our breath. And that is the key. If you can focus, there you go, focus on your breath. When you start feeling overwhelmed, when you start feeling anxious, when you start getting pissed off and frustrated about the world, first things first is become aware. You have to first know. Most people get hijacked by their brain, and they get hijacked and they don't realize that they're spiraling until it's too late, right? And but when you can become aware of, oh, I'm spiraling. Oh, I feel anxious. Oh, I'm frustrated. If you can identify, we call it name it to tame it. Name your thought. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And in every class I ever teach, that's what we always begin with, a check-in, whether I'm with a private client or I'm teaching a class. We always start with the check-in. How is your physical body feeling? Bring awareness, focus to your physical body. Are you noticing sensations? Become the observer of the thought. What kind of feelings are occurring for you? When you become aware of yourself, then step 2, you can then make the change you want to see in yourself. Whatever it takes. Does it take a breath? Does it take going out for a nature walk? Like, what will it take for you? First, of course, you take a big breath. I call it, we call it a cleansing breath. Take some cleansing breaths and then proceed. And so, but that awareness is key, focusing on yourself, and then you can focus on your next steps. What do you need to do to find balance, to find harmony, and ultimately tranquility?
Sometimes when our world feels fractured and we have so many things to do, we forget to enjoy this one life we are given. Eyes of Wonder Journeys creates opportunities for travel and discovery. 2 performing arts teachers, Lori Gabriel and Roberta Hamilton Griggs, have formed a tour company that is focused on guiding travelers to some of the world's most iconic destinations. By exploring new places with curiosity and an open mind, we can uncover meaningful ways to enrich our lives. Through our eclectic tours and our new podcast, we meet a wide range of people who help us appreciate the opportunities our world provides. By looking through the lens of wonder, we believe we can find and share great joy.
All right. So I have been reading your blog, Phyllis, on your website. and so many great articles and great tips on there that I use all the time. And you were just talking about changing a thought, and you called it changing the channel. And I think that's such a great metaphor, just like to, I would almost like pretend there's a knob right here and change the channel.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
am blessed with ADHD, as are many of my students, and the breathing doesn't always work.
Mm.
But like, it definitely didn't work when I was in childbirth. The Lamaze went out the window. I was just like pulling people's collars and
Get it out of
but
here.
with my student and with myself, I don't know where I even came up with this. I'll just say, hey, they'll get real squirrely during a lesson or something. I'll say, hey, let's count all the circles in the room real quick. So we'll pause for a
Nice.
minute, 60 seconds. We'll count all the circles. And then when they come back, they're able to get back on task. Like for
Mm.
minutes, I can get 30 minutes out of doing just that because they're reminding themselves, oh yeah, I can choose where I direct my thoughts. I can pick what I'm going to think about.
Something you can do is where you're, they say they're sitting in a classroom and you first bring them to listen to something outside the window.
Yeah.
What do you hear? The littlest sound could be a bird, it could be a honking of a car. And then you kind of slowly bring them in. So now what do you hear in this space? And then that focus, right, is helping them to just, again, stay focused on that one thing. Bring your attention to that one thing. And it's the same thing when you do a kind of body scan, is you're bringing your attention to your the muscles in your face. Take a breath in and relax the muscles in your face, and then slowly you do a body scan all the way down to their feet. Focus, your feet are connected to the floor. Press your big toe down, lift your arches, and they're completely focused on the pose. Connect their mind with their body. That's where the mind body practice is, connecting the mind with the body. And then that in itself helps to calm the central nervous system.
In teaching drama,
Mm.
or music, we have to work with kids that have stage fright. So I want to hear what you do, Roberta, but I, like with my instrument playing students, I tell them to just think about one thing, like just think about the hair of your bow rubbing across the string. Like, don't think about what the judge is thinking of you. Do you have stuff like that you use, Roberta, to help them not be nervous?
Yes. I've still been thinking about what you said about the 70-plus-year-old man who's going to have surgery on Monday, and how he didn't really even know that he could ask somebody to help him with that. Like, we don't know what we don't know. And we don't know what's possible, or what, singers think, well, I'm singing with my vocal cords, and every once in a while I should probably take a breath or something. They forget that actually you are your instrument, your whole body. So a lot of times I'll say, your muscles are too tight, and guess which is the biggest muscle in your body that's causing that tension? And they're like, my neck or my shoulders or my whatever. I'm like, no, it's that muscle, right? That brain. And they don't even, they just don't even know that that's a thing. So one of the things, I had lots of nervous people today as they were auditioning for a musical. And of course, it's easy from the outside to go, just calm down, you're prepared, you'll be fine. But it can overwhelm them, right? Their nervous systems they're not even close to being calm. And so what I try to do also is have them focus on, do you remember the last time you were on stage and you were having really great time? Or the last time you were in the classroom, or the last time you were leading a tour for your job, something that you do all the time, every day, and it's just that easy. But this feels terrifying, right? So if we could focus on those moments that are already positive and already easy and whatever, and just take that into the room with you, I think that helps. But
I think that too, what you're describing is a way to build confidence, because why do people get nervous? I mean, essentially you're nervous because you're afraid you're not going to get the part. Right? You want it. God, I hope I get it. I hope I get it. Right?
She
Right? You
does
want
break
it.
into musical
I
theater.
do.
I
I'm telling
love
you,
it.
everything has a
I
song.
love it.
And they want it so badly, and so the anticipation of not getting it, the outcome, and the idea is to don't focus on the outcome,
Right.
right? What you're saying, focus on right now. And when you think about times that was you were at ease, that things went well for you, that builds confidence. I think that it's just brilliant.
I was thinking about, we've been talking about the mind body connection, of course, but all of the senses too. You're talking about creative visualization. You're talking about focusing on the sounds that you hear and then bringing those. Lori and I talk a lot about zooming things in, right? Sometimes it's just too much. The whole world and all of the things that we have to deal with. We have a new book. We're going to call it 50,000 tabs, right? I mean, just on the computer, how many tabs do we have open all the time? And
Yep,
it's
yep.
right. And it's just too much. So focus in. You can only do one thing at a time. So what do you feel like? So you're doing the body scan. What do you see? Right? What do you hear? What do you touch? Right? What do you taste even? Maybe like really enjoy that chocolate bar or whatever, to get you out of it's all just too much, I think.
And boy, I'm telling you, I get in the loop. Woo! I get in that loop and I get spiraling, and then it's this, like, I can't get out of it. And even me with what my knowledge and my skills, and I teach others, I totally get in that space. Another thing that I think that helps me a lot is journaling. And I'm not one of those, I'm journaling every single day. I'm like so not disciplined that way. But when I'm when I'm really getting in that place where I can't get out of that loop, I start writing it down, because my mind will take me to all these places I don't want it to go. And so vomiting it up on paper it's been a really good tool for me. And you start getting clarity, and and things just that's a really helpful practice for me.
But in school, we're so punitive. You're not focusing the way I want you to focus. You will now be punished, and I will stamp you with a number that states how well you were able to focus on this thing and not the thing that you're gifted in necessarily.
Right. That's the hard thing. But even things that, that kind of stimulation, every time we learn something new, or our neural pathways are developing. That's why, people, as even they get older, they're doing puzzles, and you've got to stimulate the mind. So even if you think you're not going to use that exact thing, those neural pathways are going to come in handy for maybe something else, maybe something that's related to it.
That's true. That's very good.
Right?
Punitive part of it that really gets me.
Yeah. But it's interesting how, like, my son played the bassoon, and he was determined when he was, I think, 11th grade, he was determined to go to all state. And every year he managed to get like all region, right? But I got him a new teacher, a new private bassoon teacher. They worked all semester on one piece, right? That's all they did. And he felt, I think he was feeling really good about it. And he practiced, and then he gets to the performance. He gets to the audition, forgot everything. It was one of the most devastating days of it. He thought he would in some way go into music. And that was the day he decided not to, because he could not handle the performance. My son now has become a therapist, and he works with kids. He just got his official license. So, so what might destroy us early on, in the end, sometimes you can use that to help others. And so that's those skills, teaching people what to do when that starts to happen. And we go back again to that awareness.
Mhm.
You have to know it's happening first. You got to catch yourself. If you don't know what's happening, you don't know to take the 3 cleansing breaths and accept it with love and honor yourself and know, okay, that's me.
Yeah.
But it's not, my destiny doesn't have to be where I fall apart and crawl up in a fetal position. I can actually conquer this. That's the beauty of all of it, is to overcome that.
With our gratitude as well. Like
Yeah.
if you're looking at something that somebody made, I don't have any, well, okay. If I just really focus in on, oh, this blanket, like somebody had to design this and somehow get it onto this blanket. And by focusing on that, I'm just like opening up this rampage of gratitude. Like, look at all this stuff around me, this violin.
Yeah.
You just start noticing things that you never noticed. And that's important in traveling. My son doesn't love traveling with me. He does it. But my way of traveling is I'm always, I'm in this beautiful place and I'm like, okay, where is the nearest place that we're going to eat? How many minutes does it take there? What subway do we have to be? And Chris is like, there's flowers here and waterfalls. Looking at the map.
Yes, it's letting go of control. It's hard to do.
Well, and
Hard
I
to
also
do.
think what both of you have mentioned something, and of course, for me, I mean, performance anxiety has always been a big thing, and a lot of it does come back to, I had to, when I was majoring in vocal performance, I was in juries, and it was always like, well, that B flat was, a quarter tone under, and you missed a word here or something, instead of like, what is the entire performance like here? We have to, so there, I think there's a little irony maybe in terms of focus. Like in terms, we focus so much on that one bassoon song that when we can't play that one song, then I can't play bassoon. I just can't do it. We get so focused on maybe on the wrong thing or whatever.
Yeah.
That I wonder if maybe that there isn't some, but I guess also that it's okay to say, you know what? Yes, I love to travel and I still have issues with it. Yes, I love yoga and I'm still not the perfect, I'm not the Prince of Peace.
Right.
I have, right? I mean, there are things that I do that I love that I am not perfect. Why do I expect you to be perfect? I don't. We're all on this walk together. Let's just let's enjoy it a little bit if we could,
I think one thing that's also been really helpful to me is to lose attachment. So losing attachment to the outcome. So like Lori, when you travel, you're attached to a particular itinerary.
Yes.
Right. And so you're so attached to the itinerary that you don't notice that there's flowers around you. Right. And we're attached to, my son was attached that he had to get that Allstate. And maybe the teacher was wrong to just focus on that one thing. Maybe she needed to, play and have some, do something where he would have fun and help him loosen up a little bit. And the people auditioning, don't be attached to the outcome. Go in, be you, know what you can do. And don't be attached to whether you get it or not,
Absolutely.
And when we're not attached to that, even just our feelings, not, we have feelings that will occur that overwhelm us, and they too shall pass, right? You feel it, you let it happen, you recognize it, and then you kind of, once you're aware of it and you name it to tame it, you'll notice it just kind of on its own will dissipate. It no longer owns you. I'll say that to my students, my yoga students, I'll say, just when you recognize that, when you observe the thoughts, when you know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, they don't own you anymore.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for spending all this time with us. And I want to ask you before we go, what's the best way if people want to reach out to you and learn more about Rejuvicize? And we'll put it in the comments.
That would be great. So rejuvicize.com, that is spelled like, think of like rejuvenate, REJUV, like, and then exercise, rejuvicize, ECISE.com. You can do it that way, or you can email me at phyllis@rejuvicize.com. And then I'm also Instagram, Facebook at Rejuvicize. But it was a pleasure. I thank you both for the invitation.
Improve your focus with Eyes of Wonder Journeys. Our tours are specifically centered around helping you make time to be present in your surroundings. Whether we're visiting an animal sanctuary, standing on a mountain pinnacle, or listening to the melodious strains of a string quartet, we structure our tours around using all of our senses to take in the wonders our world has to offer. Go to eyesofwonderjourneys.com to find out what trips are coming up. We hope to see you soon.